Hey man, hey, welcome back. Welcome back to the Muddy Mindset Podcast, man, with your host, with your boy, with your guy. It's Beezy, man. Let me just start by saying thank you. The feedback and support from episode one is and always will be so appreciated and valued. Every DM, every share, every word of encouragement, man. Shit, I see y'all, man, and I appreciate y'all. So, as some of y'all may know, I actually dropped the first episode of this podcast on my 21st birthday. And that day, it wasn't just about turning up and getting drunk. It really felt like a transition into adulthood for me, into manhood, really. Dropping the pod on that day was my way of stepping into a new chapter, taking everything I've been through and using it to build something real for the community. The amount of encouragement and love that I've got from y'all after that first episode, honestly, that's all I could really ask for. And y'all made me feel like I was doing right. So, I'm gonna just keep pushing these out. And to keep it a buck, I definitely had to slap my ID down on the table. And, I blacked out. I blacked the fuck out for my 21st. So trust me, it was a successful day. No regrets, very little memories, but it's a fresh start. And if you're new here or if you've been rocking with me for a while, man, just know the Muddy Mindset Podcast is all about shining a light on systemic issues like gun violence and poverty. It's about breaking down the roots behind the struggles of our community, and it's about highlighting the resilience and success that comes from the mud. I mean, here it's important that we keep it real. It's important that we keep it balanced, and it's important that we always put the muddy perspective front and center. All this momentum, everything that happened since my birthday, it just makes me even more excited to keep this thing going and make every episode better than the last. We still working on the perfect structure for the show, and that's gonna come with time. But that's gonna come also with y'all feedback. So keep letting me know what's working and what needs to change, and I'm listening, man. I promise y'all I am. So today we diving right into the roots of youth violence. Like I said before, my journey to being a youth gun violence expert, it didn't just start in a classroom or office. It started when I was actually 17 years old and got caught up in it myself. And I want to share that story with y'all. Uh, the story I'm about to share is crazy and involves people who you may or may not have heard of. And uh, so with that being said, I'm gonna just give as much detail as I can without compromising myself or anybody else. So like every other story that I'll share on this podcast, man, just know I ain't gonna hear no names. All right, so boom. Let's just get into it. So it's like early March 2022. I can't remember the exact date, but it's early March 22. I had plans to meet the homies at Hooters to watch Jorge Masvidal and Kobe Covington fight and what I think was UFC 272. We were just meeting up to eat some nasty ass chicken wings and have a good time. This shit was basically routine at this point because we did this almost every Saturday. Before all that even took place, I pulled up on another friend of mine who lived around the corner on the next block to pick some up. And, I never even left the car. We were wrapping up our little conversation, saying our goodbyes, and he was heading back into the house. And then out of nowhere, man, 20 shots just came flying our way. And mind you, it was pitch black outside, and the only street light on that street was up the street. So, I ain't know what the fuck was going on. And so, boom, I'm panicking. I slam my shit in drive and, head down trying to make it through these bullets. And, I pull up to the nearest spot with a little bit of light. And that happened to be the 7, or no, not the 7-Eleven, the Stop and Go up the street. And I sat there for like 15 to 20 seconds. I remember I was just yelling. I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? I just kept saying that back to back. What the fuck? And I think it's really just because I couldn't process what just happened. Like I couldn't process what I was just involved in. And, finally I snap out of it and I start looking for my phone because I got to call somebody. I got to let somebody know what just happened. And if we rewind a little bit back to when it just happened and I had to take off, uh, as I'm trying to find somewhere to go, I passed a police station. But at that point, I got holes all through the whip and I'm panicking. And at that point, it just ain't feel like the move. So looking back, this probably wasn't the safest call, the smartest call, but I ended up going back to the scene to check on my friend. And that's when I seen the headlights coming, or I seen like some headlights coming from the direction of the shooting. So if you put yourself in my shoes, I don't know if that's a shooter, if that's the police, or if that's my friend getting rushed to the hospital. But either way, when I see them lights, man, I got the fuck loose. I started cutting up. I hit a main road. I'm doing like 100 miles an hour, which is wild because one of my tires got shot flat. So I'm moving. And so, anyways, boom. Police pull me over as I'm coming to a light, and coincidentally, I was right next to my job or my current job at the time. They exit the car with their guns drawn, and they end up they talking to me like I'm the shooter, even though I'm the one who got hosed and they shit. So at that point, I thought they was gonna end up facing me if I moved wrong. So I put my car in park. I'm moving real slow, like super slow, so they don't get the wrong idea. I end up taking the keys out the ignition and put my hands out the window. And I remember as I'm getting out, there were cars at the light, and people were recording and yelling at the cops that my hands were up and shit. And so, really, I don't know if they was trolling or if they was being for real and were actually concerned. But either way, I was super embarrassed, and man, I was sick. And then they demanded that I exit the vehicle, and then I walked backwards to the sound of their voice, and then they cuffed me and put me in the back of a squad car. And shit, I was just sitting there and they're sick, and there wasn't much to do after that. And so before I finish the story, I just kind of want to take a quick break, make sure that y'all digest everything that y'all just heard, because we halfway through the story, but it does take a turn. So make sure that y'all are with me up until this point. All right. All right. Boom. So we back. So remember, I just got put in the back of the wagon, and I'm at this point, I'm back there mad as hell. And it wasn't funny. It's not funny, but it's almost laughable now that I'm thinking back on it, because it's like, man, I was heated. And I keep telling them like, man, why am I here? I'm the only one with hoes in my shit. I'm on my way to Hooters for a UFC fight. I told them the fighters I went to go see, the card number, all that. I'm saying I'm a wrestler. I'm in high school. I just left across the street from work. I'm saying, man, at this point, I'm saying anything I can to get these folks off my ass. And so now we're here for about like 45 minutes, and I'm demanding that they go get my phone or let me call my mom. And and I'm saying like she's literally right around the corner because we still in the neighborhood. And uh they just kept telling me no. They said no. I don't know how legal it was, if they could have held me or not. I was a minor at the time, so I was pissed. They kept telling me no. And I even tell them that they can go check with my job across the street. I and telling them I was just there a couple hours ago, but after a while, I ended up realizing like they don't give a fuck what I got to say. So, and on top of the fact I ain't had no way to contact nobody, I just sat there. I was defeated, and I was waiting to get moved downtown so we can get to what's next. And so, boom, this is where the story turned though. Cause when I tell y'all, man, God is so real, bro. So the same homies that I was supposed to meet at Hooters, they just so happened to drive by. They end up recognizing my car because I had like this jacked up headlight from a fender bender. And the whole time they almost went the other way, but they end up getting nosy. So that worked in my favor, and they pulled up on me. So one of the officers opened the door and asked if I know who's walking up. And when I see my boys, man, should I instantly turn up? Like I'm yelling, "Oh, I lost my phone. They won't let me call my mom. Call my mama right." Like I'm turned, and I'm trying to get it all out before they end up closing the door again. Uh, they made my friend step away, but that at that point that was all it took. My mom ended up getting the message, and she pulls up in like 60 seconds. And when she gets there, they say that we can't talk until the detective comes. Uh, and at that point, I'm screaming my lungs and I'm trying to get her attention. But if you ever been in the back of a cop car, they can't nobody hear you. It's soundproof. So my friends end up telling her which cruiser I'm in and what side. And then she tries to get close, but a cop end up getting rude with her and like says something slick like maybe she shouldn't stand in the middle of the road, like something corny. And I remember turning up after that. Like I almost blacked out mad, like just so mad I can't even remember the details, but end up clowning him. And I ain't even gonna get too much in that because I'm getting mad thinking about it. But boom, the detective, he finally came, and he was this cool older black dude. And he tells me that the friend that I was with ended up getting shot, but he's in surgery and should be cool. And so he says, I can go home if my friend wakes up and is able to clear my name. And after about an hour and a half, the detective, he comes back and says that my friend's surgery went well and that my friend was able to tell him that I wasn't involved. Um, so they finally let me go. But by that time I get home, it's like 3 a.m. And mind you, I left for this fight around like 10. So that's like, so we've been at this for like hours. I'm frustrated. I'm tired. I'm ready to go home. So, that's pretty much the whole story. A lot happened after that for the next few weeks and things got a little messy, but I ain't gonna get into all that right now. I don't say this story to brag or anything. This story does have a message. I share this to show how you can be working, doing sports, you can be a decent student, and doing something as harmless as going to watch a fight with some friends. You could still end up in the middle of some bullshit. So you don't gotta be living reckless to become a statistic or to be villainized. A lot of adults don't get how complex and how multifaceted and deep these issues and these situations can really get. And sometimes it's just simply the wrong place in the wrong time. And for me, this was just a huge turning point in my life. Uh, this taught me that God can pull your card at any time. And, that's why I don't wait to take charge of my life or take charge of my future. I just turned 21, but to me, man, this shit got to happen right now. Cause if not now, then when, you know? And, we gonna segue a little bit, man. And I don't want to kill the storytelling mood, but let's switch it up for a quick second, man. So after dropping my first episode, I posted a question on our Muddy Mindset socials. I asked the people, I said, what's the hardest part about being a youth and living in the hood? And before we get into these submissions, man, one thing I want to stand on and reiterate is that a big part of this show is giving youth the spotlight, but a bigger part of this show is making sure that they remain protected. So we're always focused on them. We're always intentional about protecting their privacy. So any submissions that I do read will be anonymous. So let's get into them. And before I read them, I'll just let you know that I'm not going to give too much feedback on this. There will be times where I provide feedback, but this is their stories. This is their answer. So there's not much I can say to it. First one says, trying to stay focused on school when there's so much drama and chaos outside. It's hard to care about homework when you got bigger things to worry about. The next one is not having safe places to hang out. If you're not at home or at school, there's nowhere to go that feels safe. Next is lack of resources and opportunities. It's hard to dream big when you typically don't see it around you. Shit, hold on, let me run that back. They said it's hard to dream big when you typically don't see it around you. That's a bar. The next one is you sometimes get called lame because you don't want to be a negative product of your environment. And I know I said I wasn't going to add no feedback, but that's something that I'll touch on and I expound on in the next segment. So just stay tuned for the rest of the episode and we'll get to that. And finally, someone simply just said surviving. And shit is simple, but it's clear, man. Surviving is the hardest part about being a youth and living in the hood. So if you want to share your stories, if you want to brag about something, if you want to ask for advice, or if you just want to vent because you got some shit on your chest, man, hit the socials or the email in the description of this episode. I haven't got any formal submissions yet other than the responses in the question featured in today's episode, but the first ones that come in will be featured in upcoming episodes. So get those into your boy and you might hear yours. All right, man. So let's bring it back. Let's bring it back to the main point. And the main point is that youth gun violence is a complex, multi-layer issue, right? This isn't a picture that you can just paint with a broad brush. So with that being said, my message to adults listening is that even with all the right things in place, you can still end up a victim of your environment. So don't be so quick to judge when you see these stories on the news or when a young person that you know makes the headlines. You don't know the root causes or the bigger picture behind these situations. And I like to say that everyone loves to judge the behavior and ignore the story. So don't be one of them folks. And to the youth who are listening, if you're from the hood, if you're from the mud, you're gonna end up a product of your environment. It's inevitable. It's gonna happen. But that doesn't mean you have to be a victim to it. Looking back on my story that I just shared, man, I was a victim. I was victimized and even villainized in that moment. But the thing is, I don't see myself as a victim. And I damn sure don't see myself as no villain. I'm a survivor. Everything that happened that night led me to where I am today. So if you're listening and you've been through something similar, I promise you, it doesn't have to end there. And you can take what you've learned and use it to turn your life up. And I'm not gassing you. I say this because I'm living proof I've done it already. All right, man. So this is we're gonna go into the next segment, man. It's time for our Muddy Spotlight, man. This is the Muddy Spotlight. Every episode, I want to highlight a local youth, an organization, or a program that's making a difference. Today, it's a TTEC program. That stands for, and I hope I'm saying this right, the Ternion Training and Education Center. It's a trade school out here in Toledo, and some real stand-up folks are behind that. So a big, huge shout out goes out to my boy Antuan Rayford. He's a lead HVAC instructor there. Without sharing too much of his own story, I'll say that he's been through the mud and he knows how to connect with our youth, especially those who are labeled high risk. He's committed to helping young people avoid the mistakes that he's made as a youth, and he's super active in the community, using his skills to take a stand against gun and gang violence. So I just wanted to highlight Antuan and TTEC because here on the Muddy Mindset, man, we're about action, not just talk. You know, this is a podcast. That's what we do. We talk, but we're here to see the real work. And there's a lot of programs that claim to do the work. There's a lot of programs that claim to work with our at-risk youth, but there's very few that actually step in and provide them with the new path. Antuan and T-Tech really embody what it means to connect with and give youth something to leave the streets for. Antuan doesn't even know that he's being featured in today's episode. And honestly, you know, I'm really trying to see if he'll be down to be one of our first guests. So let me know if y'all want to hear from somebody who's excelling in the trade field and can offer that muddy perspective. So man, as we wrap this up, I just want to let y'all know that this show is a work in progress and it's gonna get better each episode. I can truly feel that. You know, we've already got episode 2 down packed. We're wrapping that up right now. We'll be working on the third one soon. And who knows, maybe y'all will get maybe y'all will get y'all first guest, Antuan. You know, maybe y'all will get a youth roundtable if I can find out how to do that the right way, or maybe even just a deeper dive into another topic. But y'all let me know what y'all want, or I'm gonna continue doing what the fuck I want. So if you got any ideas or you want to be featured in an episode, hit the socials or email in the description. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and share the podcast with a friend so we can keep this momentum going, so we can keep this thing moving. Man, before I forget, man, let's end this off with some words of advice, just like last time. And the advice for today is to understand that you can be a product of your environment without becoming a victim to it. Sheesh, man, this was a damn good episode, man. I'm excited for what's to come, man. I'm excited to keep this thing going, keep the momentum moving. I love y'all niggas, man. You've just watched episode 2 of the Muddy Mindset podcast with your host, Beezy. See y'all folks later. We out.